I'm in America on the culinary road trip of a lifetime, indulging my passion for cakes.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm about to meet some of the greatest bakers America has to offer.
You can never have enough maple syrup.
This is baking in the fast lane. In this show, I'll be trading in my petrol engine for horsepower as I seek out the Amish speciality, Shoofly pie.
And I like Shoofly. What kind of Shoofly do you like?
I've never tried Shoofly, but I'm looking forward to it. And my search for the perfect pretzels gets me tied up in knots.
And that's a pretzel.
Is it? I feel like you've just let me have that one. In the kitchen, I'll be showing you my take on these American classics. Banoffee ice cream cones and treacle pie with a secret ingredient. On its own, you want to put that on your chips. With this, it's fantastic. Now, we're actually in the state of Pennsylvania. Well, the one thing that's weird about this place is that this is the area of Lancaster, and their symbol is a red rose. And I'm a Yorkshireman. You can never get away from it, can you? Pennsylvania was the home to some of the earliest settlers to the New World, and it's still heavily populated by their descendants. This is Lancaster County, where you'll find the second largest Amish community in America. He likes the car. I like his tractor. I, for one, don't know really anything about the Amish community, but they really hold these values about living on the land dear to their religion, which is great. I mean, I kind of look at it in terms of I've got my own allotment, I produce my own veg. Be interesting to see. Horsepower, I'm into horsepower. The Amish started settling here from as early as the 1700s, and today there are almost 250,000 people living within Amish communities in the States. I think I'm right in saying that they don't use modern technology. No phones, no TV. Definitely not a ride-on lawnmower. I'm visiting a town called Bird in Hand in search of a famous Pennsylvanian speciality, Shoofly pie. Bird in Hand Farmers Market. We're not far off. There's a bakery here that's owned by the Smucker family, who have been baking Shoofly pies for over 40 years. And I'm meeting Jim Smucker to find out more. So tell us about the Amish community then, and embracing change, because a lot must have happened in quite a short space of time recently.
Yeah, well, what's happened in the last 20 years is the Amish for many generations averaged 8 to 10 children per family. There's not enough farmland to go around for all of them to have a farm, so they started creating businesses. 20 years ago, you would not really have been welcome on an Amish farm. Today, almost every farm has a sign hanging out advertising something that they sell. And there are wonderful people. And so the people really like to come to the community for that.
Now tell us about the Shoofly pie then. Where does that originate from?
That's really a part of this community forever, probably. It's a pie that doesn't need refrigeration, so you can have it around for a week. In fact, a fresh pie is not as good of a pie that's 3 or 4 days old. Jim's arranged some local transportation for me to get to his bakery.
All right, Steve.
How you doing? Yeah.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
So tell us about these things.
They are called buggies.
Buggies?
Yes.
Right.
I can usually put like 6 in here. They're pulled by horses. They have battery power. You can travel at night with these.
As a member of the Amish community, this is Steve's primary mode of transport. It's nice to hand over the reins and enjoy traveling at the slightly slower pace whilst discussing cakes.
And I like Shoofly. What kind of Shoofly do you like?
I've never tried Shoofly, but I'm looking forward to it.
Chocolate Shoofly is good. I love chocolate Shoofly. I like that better than any Shoofly anywhere else.
Well, Steve's certainly a big fan, but I need to find out what all the fuss is about.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks
for coming.
Bakery manager Jim is waiting to show me how it's made. So Jim, the famous Shoofly pie.
Yes.
And this is how it starts?
This is how it starts, just a basic pie shell here.
Right. Is that a sweet pastry? Do you make that out of butter or?
No, this is actually a shortening flour pastry, so it's not sweet.
What's the filling for it?
The filling is a combination of what we call Shoofly juice, which is
Shoofly juice?
Yes, this is it. A combination of brown sugar, refiner syrup, eggs, water, and some other leavening ingredients.
Right. So you obviously get through a lot of it if you're making it in bins like this.
Yes, we do.
Shoofly juice is mixed with Shoofly crumbs, a combination of more brown sugar, flour, cinnamon, and shortening.
Here, if you want, you could just stir that together.
We have a similar sort of thing back in the UK, which is the old, treacle tart, that kind of stuff with breadcrumbs.
Right.
So it's similar to
Right,
that.
and that's where the origin of this possibly has originated, because the treacle tart had some lemon flavor, lemon juice in it, right?
Yeah.
This, they went with more of a cinnamon flavor instead of a lemon flavor.
So why is it called a Shoofly pie then?
Well, you can see there's a lot of sugar and syrup in this pie, and they would have a warm pie coming out of the oven. They would set it out on a windowsill to cool down, and as the story goes, flies would get attracted to all the sugar, and they'd have to shoo them away. Thus the name Shoofly pie.
Jim pours the mixture into pie cases before topping them with more of the crumb mixture, and then putting them in the oven. Well, it's sugar packed, so I can't wait to try it.
All right. Okay, James, well, here is a sample of the Shoofly pie.
It looks highly calorific.
It is, yes. Nothing but high octane.
It's kind of all the energy that you need to go working in the field, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Right on cue, there's a fly there, look.
Yep, it lives up to its name.
Yeah, exactly. But it tastes delicious. It's very good. Now, I love treacle pie, ever since my granny used to make it. But it's the first time I've actually tasted treacle and crumble together. But it's inspired me to make this dish. So the first thing we need is to make our pastry. And for that, you need everything really chilled. Even the flour's in the fridge. The butter's come out the freezer, and the icing sugar in the fridge. Sounds unusual, but you want to keep it nice and cold. Start mixing the butter, sugar, and flour together. Now, the secret of having things really chilled is the butter incorporates with the flour much better, and you get a finer crumb. So you get a much better pastry at the end of the day. When the mixture resembles fine breadcrumbs, add 1 egg to bind the pastry together. You don't want to over-mix it, because it's going to toughen up that flour, and if it toughens up the flour, it's going to shrink when you line your tart tin. Finish bringing the pastry together by hand, and then wrap it in cling film. This needs to sit in the fridge now for a good 30 minutes. And once rested, it's firm enough to roll out on a lightly floured surface. Make sure you get it nice and thin. So you roll it over the rolling pin. Very quickly, just get a non-stick flan case and then roll it over the top, lifting it above. You don't want to allow the rolling pin to touch the case, because otherwise it will break it. Then tuck the pastry into the tin, being careful not to pull or stretch it. Trim around the edge, then line the case for baking. Now, this is a tip you learn as a chef in a restaurant. Baking beans are quite expensive, so we don't really use them. So we can either use rice or flour. Flour being probably the cheapest thing in the kitchen. And if you use cling film like this and press it down, it gets right into the edges. The flour will keep the pastry nice and thin and also stop it from shrinking. And baking it at this stage will ensure the pastry is fully cooked and remains crisp when filled. Cook for 15 minutes until the pastry is golden brown. Now get on with the treacle filling. It's just eggs and golden syrup whisked together. Treacle tart traditionally uses breadcrumbs to help it set, but eggs do the trick in this recipe, which makes for a lighter pie. Fill that up. Now what I'm going to do is just finish this off with some pecan nuts. Place it into a low oven and bake for an hour, and then it's all about the topping. So a standard crumble mix. It's butter, flour and demerara sugar rub together and spread it out onto a baking tray. But the secret to this, and I think it's the secret to anything that contains that amount of treacle, is salt. It cuts through the sweetness of the treacle and enhances the flavour. Add a good pinch to the crumble mix and then it's ready to bake. And cook this for about 10 minutes. So this is after about an hour in the oven. You can see it's actually quite soft, and that's what you're looking for. It's not as dense and as heavy as treacle tart with the breadcrumbs. Still be able to slice it, but nice and soft. But this is the real key, I think, this salt crumble. On its own, you want to put that on your chips. With this, it's fantastic. Even though you've got all that treacle in there, it's the salt that cuts through the sweetness. And there you have it, my treacle pie with sea salt crumble. The texture is very similar to sort of shoofly pie, but it's not as dense. Delicious. I'm in Pennsylvania, one of the more traditional states in America. I'm off to find out about a food that could be classed as one of America's greatest baked exports, the pretzel. Today I'm in Lancaster, which is known as Pretzel County, where they produce 80% of the entire US market of pretzels. There's an old bakery here that produces pretzels in the old-fashioned way. But it's pretty difficult to find, because I actually don't know where I'm going. But at this moment, I'm being typically a bloke. I'm not asking anybody. They did provide a sat-nav with this car, which, like the cigarette lighter that powers it, it doesn't work. But it's somewhere over here. Ish. Now, actually, I might be lost. Excuse me, guys. Hammond's Bakery, pretzels. Do you know where it is?
There's a bakery on the other road.
Yeah.
Go up to the light, make a right, and then another right.
Wicked. That'll be the one. Thank you very much, guys.
Nice car.
Thank you. Got it! Look at that. Hammond's Bakery pride themselves on their old-fashioned methods and still hand-roll their pretzels as their founder William Hammond did over a century ago. I'm meeting Karen Ackerman, who's going to show me around their bakery. Karen.
Yes.
You didn't make it easy to find, did you?
No, we're tucked away.
Tell me about pretzels then. Why do pretzels and Pennsylvania go well together?
There's a lot of European immigrants, a lot of European influence, a particularly German immigrant that came to Lidditz, not far from here, gave a pretzel recipe to another pretzel baker, and it just continued on down the line.
We head back to the old garage that has housed the Hammond's Bakery since the 1800s to meet Karen's brother and chief domixer Brian. He's got some pretty impressive machinery.
This is a slow-speed mixer.
Right.
At the beginning of the day, we start with flour and water and yeast. And
So it's like a starter.
it's like a starter. We remix that with more flour, more water, and a couple other ingredients.
Yeah.
And then we put it on the table for the people to make pretzels out of.
The huge batch of dough is divided into small pieces which get rolled and twisted into the traditional pretzel shape. Why that pattern, anyway?
Oh, the twist? Well, back in the 600s AD, a monk folded it in that pattern to represent children's arms folded in prayer, and he gave it to them as a treat when they said their prayers.
Right. It looks simple, but it probably isn't. I can't resist a challenge, so I'm going to get stuck into some pretzel rolling.
You want it about 18 inches long.
Right.
Pinch the ends with your forefinger and your thumb. Pick them up so that it's a U shape, and then twist it around.
What have you just done there?
Flick your right wrist.
Flick your right wrist.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Put it down. Now bring your...
And what do you do with the bit?
And they go right there like that. And that's a pretzel.
Is it?
Yep.
It's kind of like a pretzel.
Kind
No,
of,
it-
yes.
I feel like you've
with a
just let
little
me have that
maneuvering.
one. I mean, this is incredibly labor intensive doing it this way.
It is.
We're committed to keeping handmade pretzel rolling alive,
Right.
and we believe that we have a superior product to any machine-made product.
Well, I feel like you used to until you let a Yorkshireman have a go at making them, but...
This way and then pull them back.
There you go.
Do you know what? We'll just leave it there, right? What happens after this, then?
Well, all right, these boards all hold 95 pretzels. When it's full,
Right.
carry them over to the rack over here,
Yeah.
and let them sit for about 45 minutes till they're fully raised. When they're finally raised, we need to put them in a bath. So they go into a soda ash solution that's boiling.
Soda ash.
Soda ash.
What is
Soda
that?
ash is an agent that'll make the pretzels turn brown when they go in the oven.
The bathed pretzels are given a coating of salt, then baked for 10 minutes in a fantastic, huge, old, rotating oven. But they're still not finished. When they come out of the oven, there's one more step before they're ready to go.
This is our drying kiln.
Right.
The pretzels drop in here. This is at 225.
Yeah.
They'll take 3 passes through the machine, one forward, one backwards, and the last one forward. And that will actually take all the moisture out without changing any of the texture or the coloring on the outside.
This stage is crucial to achieve the classic hard pretzel that Hammonds are so famous for. And this is the final product.
This is it. This is where they all come out. They're baked on the outside, dried on the inside, all finished. And they come out here. So, what do you think?
It's the best pretzel I've ever tasted.
That's what we want to hear.
Now, I've always wanted to know how pretzels were made. Whether or not you're going to do them at home, I don't know, but now you know how to make them. And I'm going to use these pretzels to make a dessert. First thing, I'll need to get the ice cream on. To do this, you need to start by separating 8 eggs. You only need the yolks for this. Then pour cream and milk into a pan with 1 vanilla pod and gently heat, while you whisk up the egg yolks with some sugar. Now, ice cream is in fact a custard, but if you freeze it and churn it at the same time, you end up with ice cream. When the cream and the milk mixture is warm but not boiling, pour steadily over the egg yolks and sugar, whisking all the time. Then transfer the mixture back into the pan. Now keep it on the heat. This is one dish that you don't want to leave and go wandering off, because you just need to cook those egg yolks just enough so they don't curdle. If you overcook it at this stage, you've got to throw it in the bin and start again. Keep whisking until the custard starts to thicken. It's vitally important that the mixture doesn't boil or the eggs will scramble. This is just about ready. You can see that. The texture's changed. It's got much thicker, and it should, in theory, just coat the back of the spoon. You should be able to draw a line on it. And that means that the egg yolks are cooked and it's thickened our custard. Pour it through a sieve to ensure it's nice and smooth. Then it goes into an ice cream machine to churn and freeze until you have a lovely, soft ice cream. Now, the actual cone part of this isn't a wafer, but more of a biscuit. And that's made with egg whites, icing sugar, softened butter and flour. And you mix it to a paste and set it in the fridge. And when it's been in the fridge for about half an hour, you end up with this sort of firm paste, which is a great biscuit that's pliable when it's still warm. That's because of the egg whites. And then when it's cold, it sets. I'm going to use that to make our cones. And all I've done here is just take a little plastic sheet and cut out a little template. Spread some of the paste evenly over the template. Once baked, this will roll up to form the cone. Then add detail around the top. Then pipe a round base for the cones to sit on. And then you need to bake these biscuits at 200 degrees centigrade just until they're lightly golden brown. It should only take about 3 or 4 minutes. While they bake, make some caramel by heating caster sugar in a pan. This is for the banana caramel sauce, but it also acts as a glue to stick the cones to their bases. Now, the secret is, with these biscuits, is to work with them while they're still warm. But while they're warm, they're pliable. Shape the biscuits into cones. They set quickly to hold their shape, secure by dipping the cones in caramel and sticking to their bases. Next, chop some bananas and stir them through the remaining caramel with a splash of cream.
Now, if I'm brutally honest, I never really liked pretzels until I actually saw them made properly. And you really can't beat that handmade taste.
Crush the pretzels and start filling the cone, alternating the layers of banana caramel sauce and salty pretzels. Lastly, to finish off the ice cream, throw in a few tablespoons of dulce de leche, or caramelized condensed milk. And top off the cone with a generous scoop of this ice cream.
You can top it with more pretzels. And there we have it.
An unusual and delicious dessert, banoffee ice cream cones with salted pretzels.
Now, if I'm honest, it wasn't easy actually incorporating pretzels into a dessert. But the salt really does work. Not only with the ice cream, but with the bananas. I'm pleased with that.
Pennsylvania is a place of real contrast, of tradition versus industry, the old versus new, and they've got some pretty good food.
It's a great place, isn't it?